So let's go back to that first time. 17 years old. That's unbelievable. Why? You said because you were dark skinned, you feel that's why you didn't really get the action?
Oh, well, what I was saying by that, when I was a child, around, as a young teenager, at that era, you had guys that were cute, and that was a terminology for guys. You were cute and you were handsome. Well, if you were a kid, handsome didn't have any currency. But if you were cute, the girls wanted a cute guy. So I was outside of that. So, and this is not a racial thing, so to speak, in terms of maybe it's an aesthetic thing, what was pleasing to the eye. At that point, I wasn't defined by that look. A lot of the guys that were getting action were guys that looked more like the guys that were popular on TV. As today as well, right? Yeah. So, nah, man. Ironically enough, I used to do a lot of modeling, runway modeling, as a teenager, and I got more action from older women that were models than I did with girls that were my own age that wanted, the light-skinned kids that were light-skinned, had the curly hair. But when I was modeling, the older models were already into the handsome look. So I was more in line with the handsome look, was sit and play with kids my age, but the older group wanted the handsome, And then, as I said before, then came Michael Jordan, and that changed everything, for guys my complexion. And it's still the dominant, the preeminent look for black men today is men of darker complexion, and that's directly attributable to Michael Jordan 1 and Tyson Bedford 2, in terms of popular culture. And so, thankfully, things changed. Whereas my first years up to the age of 17 were slow, but 18 and thereafter were off to the races.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So tell me about the first time. That's the first time. Always should have some.
The first time ever.
First time ever. 17 years old, right?
Yeah.
What was it like? What did the girl look like? She had big areolas. Did you? I kind of want to go right there, but was that girl messing with you, your friend's sister? Because her tits are always jiggling in front of her face. Oh my God! Yeah,
she was.
She was teasing you.
Oh man, I mean, there were times when she would we would watch TV late into, and we watch TV sometimes in her room, and she would let me fall asleep on her. Sometimes I fell asleep on her, laying on her, and she would let me fall asleep right on her breasts. And I'd act like I didn't notice that I was laying on her breasts, but the whole time she didn't know I had a fucking little hard on that would have fucking split a diamond, at the time. Maybe she knew. She probably did know, because she was still a teenager too, so she probably was riled up as well.
She probably wanted you to go for it. I mean,
I couldn't have.
But who the fuck let you sleep on their titties? You were shy, maybe. You were maybe too respectful, right?
I was probably respectful of my boy's sister.
Okay.
And looking back on it, yeah, if I'd have made a move. I mean, there were times when... there were times when she knew that she had gave me a hard on, and she would be fucking with me like, she put her tits in my face, and then come back a minute later, and then plop down onto my lap to see if I had a hard on. And whenever she would do it, I'd be like, no! And she, so yeah.
Does she know that you forever changed? She forever changed your perception of what you like, or she made you now have what you like in your head? You know, she kind of major psychology, big titties, big nipples. She kind of, you know, stamped your head. You know,
well, and specifically, she's the one that introduced me into my love for breasts. Just like I can specifically remember the woman that made me love pussy hair, and then I definitely know the woman that made me like MILFs. You know, older women. So those are three elements of different types of women that I can, different parts of a woman that specifically I can identify with, or identify when it happened, and these are within the formative years. I mean, like by the time I went to college, I knew what really turned me on. So when I was in college, I already knew I liked tits over, I was tits over ass. You know, some guys like fat asses. I like fat ass too, but for me it was titties.
But does she know?
Who? The first one?
Does she know? Your friend's sister, does she know?
Oh yeah.
That she, forever changed you, or to her type of
She
girl?
probably didn't know that she was cultivating that element of my sexuality. She probably had no idea. She probably took it for granted that her little brother's best friend, you know what I'm saying, is fucking going crazy over her big ass titties. Well, the term big ass titties, she's one of the first women the things that come to mind when I think about. Carolyn was her name.
All right, shout out to Carolyn. So the first time, so it was your girlfriend or just some girl? And how was it?
The first time was with the model from one of the fashion shows I was doing, and I didn't know that through all the practice sessions and the rehearsals that she was checking me out like that. You know what I'm saying? Because like she was like an established model from New York that was from her hometown, super hot. She was like 6'1". Oh man, looked like Sade.
Oh.
Yeah.
Brown skin?
No, like that light skin.
Light skin, more, more
straight, light. Dark, oh man. And
a little body, but those models are kind of slim. But
she was tall, but at 6'1", but she had big ass titties.
See,
right?
Carolyn.
Natural. No, big ass titties, right? Yeah. But they were, back when everybody, and she was the type of chick that was hot. Like she dated professional ball players. So she was hot, like that hot. You know what I'm saying? That look,
She could take what she wanted.
Yeah, I mean, she was dope, like the type of, sister that like the NBA players would go after because she was taller and she was, like built the way she was. And so essentially, she made it certain that I got her phone number, and she made it happen, and it went down.
So she put it in place.
She didn't believe that it was my first time, but and I had no problem telling her that it was, because I was like, in case I fuck up, look, this is the reality is my first time, and if I did well, hey, it's my first time, so it's a win-win, so it happened, what I'm saying, but not until I was 17, and there were other guys that probably were getting pussy well before that, and then there were other guys that were talking like they were getting pussy before that. But with me, it's like I never lied on my dick, and that goes way back to then. It was just a case where it didn't happen for me.
How was she? How long did you fuck her for, and how was the goods? Was she remember? Or no?
Oh my God, she was great. I mean, it went for like, I would say, I think we probably fucked for about 45 minutes. Because, when you're 17, at 17, I mean, like, your shit is pretty much bionic. Yeah, I mean, you don't have, the last thing you have to worry about is losing a hard on. You know, it's a matter of whether you can control the hard on that's uncontrollably hard. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you know, so we smashed for almost an hour. The reason why I know it was almost an hour because I distinctly remember the number of songs that played on the tape that I made that was playing when we were doing it. So I was 11 songs in, and 11 songs in at about a 4.5 minute per song makes it about 44 minutes, 45 plus minutes, sometimes more, or you know, slightly more even. So I just remember that within a 45-minute tape, a 90-minute tape, which is 45 aside, that I went almost the full of one side. That's how I know that we went easily straight through for 40, 43, 44 minutes.
But the pussy was good? You think?
I mean, well
hard to remember.
No. I can read. Well, two things. First, it was with a condom, so I didn't really, really feel her. And then secondly, I had nothing to compare it to. As far as the penetration and what it felt like to being inside, it was more like the experience of actually fucking. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy because I remember that because me and my buddies were such purveyors of porn, we knew who we were talking about. So when I told my people that, I fucked her like, Tom Byron, or I fucked her like TTBoy, You
said my name before, you think?
I know I probably would have, because this is in when did you start?
89.
All right, so then this happened. So you hadn't started yet, but Peter was around then. Mm-hmm. Tom Byron was around then. So Ray Victory was around then. So we would. It's just like when kids are playing ball in the park, and they say, I was Dr. J today, or I was LeBron today. Well, back then it was like, I fucked her like Tom Byron, or I came on her like Peter North. You know what I'm saying?
So you were watching a lot of porno? Oh,
yeah. So I knew all the guys. That's why I said I'm historic, because I've known, forever. And so it was like my first time, I remember saying that I did it. I fucked her like Peter North. No, I mean, I'm sorry, like Tom Byron. And so, yeah, it's cool because we, even to this day, I can call her on the phone and be like, hey, how you doing?
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's nice.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Can you hit it still or no?
Well, I was like, I was 17, she was 24, so,
She's past the MILF.
Well, yeah, I mean, given my age, it's like, all right, well, but I will say, she's still she's very attractive, very attractive for her age.
Yeah, on average, the girls' walls kind of collapse a little bit, as far as high quality. But I think there are exceptions, you know what I mean, to the rule.
Well,
for age, you know what I mean?
I've noticed that it's really a case where women that I've been with for years, where I've had sex with the same woman over a long amount of time, that is always as good as it always had been. Only difference is that their pussy may not be as wet as it was 12 years ago. And only, I think it's fucked up because only men are held accountable for how their sexual performance diminishes. Only we're held accountable for this. So much so that now, obviously, they successfully created a number of products that eradicate any type of need for lack of performance, right? But no one has held women accountable and said, you know what? Well, damn it, you know what? Your pussy ain't getting wet either. Now, I know I guess there's drugs now they're making for women.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Oh. Will aid in the their ability to self-lubricate. I think they already exist. What I don't know is whether or not a ED product would work on a girl or on a woman. Like if you gave a woman a Viagra, would her pussy get wet the way it works for guys getting hard? Would it make a woman's pussy wet? Or does all it do is make her clit hard? I don't know. I need to find out.
I think I tried it before. I think it works a little bit.
But it works how? Does their pussy gets more wet because of it, or or they have a fucking, you know?
Yeah, it's hard to say for sure. You have to do more testing, I guess. But it seemed like it got wetter. But I didn't do enough testing, so I can't give a factual.
Maybe we should.
Scientific yes.
We should. That's what we should do, man. We should do a study. And ask for volunteers.
Oh yeah, I mean I don't mind.
You know what I mean?
So afterwards, after that first, de-virginizing, situation, then you were off to the races and you started hitting it and quitting them?
No, I mean, that was, then came the summer after graduation, and I don't really remember that I was getting a lot of pussy even then. I mean, because I was still around all the same girls in my social circle, my age group, school and what have you. So they weren't giving me, I wasn't getting any action with them before, so I wasn't susceptible to getting necessarily any thereafter. But I think for me, it wasn't until my first year after college where I went away for that first year and then learned a thing or two. So for instance, as far as my hometown, it was the summer after my first year of college, after I came back from college, that I was really in a position to to do things. And then plus the tide started turning around 88, 89, where you really began to see the popularity of darker skinned guys. Wesley Snipes was becoming a sex an icon as well, and people saw him as in a regard that benefited dark-skinned men across the board too. So I was a benefactor rather of that. So yeah, it wasn't until 18 or 19 that I would say the ball really started rolling. And then when I got to Syracuse, it was crazy because I never experienced women that were not experienced with well, I guess, looking back at it, the variety of color really wasn't an issue because the mentality wasn't such that I didn't notice that one girl was Asian and that was a thing. Uh-huh. You know what I'm saying? Or the girl that was from, her family was Dominican. I didn't know that was a thing. You know what I'm saying? The white girl with the fucking freckles and the dirty blonde hair, I didn't know that was a thing. But when I got to Syracuse, I saw girls where black guys were a thing that they had been either denied or not given access to. And so, yeah,
so
it was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So that was now you're an object of desire.
Well, definitely, I definitely fell within, a look that was became the new hot issue or the new hot thing. And, there was a lot of media guys and music and actors that were the embodiment of that. So for me, I fell within that, and this was back when, guys had the Jerry curls and shit, but there was a Jerry curl that the West Coast guys wore that just hung down, and then it was called the S curl. is a man's look. That was a commercial. S-curl is a man's look. So I had the S-curl where you could have like the dope ass, whatever you wanted, and it was up. So you say, so I had the fade and the flat top with S-curl.
That's New York more, right? A little bit. Right?
And it was dope, you know what I'm saying? So that was like the thing.
Shawn Michaels had that, right?
Yeah, Shawn Michaels had a dope one back, back in the day.
Yeah, it's pretty good, right?
Yeah, right? You know what I'm saying? Marcus had one too, right? Marcus, Ron Hightower, So we all rocking that look. And so, I was a benefactor of that. But, yeah.
So, so that means like it was on and cracking. So how many did you knock out of the park? In college, what's the stats, numbers?
I would say in college, I don't know, maybe 100. That's it.
In 4 years?
No, like I would say if I counted like the 5 years, because I was
5 years.
2 years at Morehouse and 3 years at Syracuse, I would say, okay, so maybe 200, and I would say maybe 200, maybe on the low side, but I would say 200. And I gotta be honest, because even thinking to what 200 women look like, I can't say that it could be. I can't say that it would be more than that. Maybe not. But that number is pretty close to accurate, and they were all fairly good looking. So even though the number might not have been that great over the course of those years, they were like each bang was really, really worth the buck.
Quality.
Yeah.
But the mathematically, I just figured in my head that is close to one a week, one new girl a week.
Yeah, but you know what? It might be 3 in 1 week and then 2 weeks of none. And that's the way, more so the way it would work. Like, like for me, it's like, okay, boom. It's not necessarily feast or famine. You know what I'm saying?
Kind of.
Right. Sometimes you're like on a roll. Like, sometimes you guys handle yourself, right? For a minute. And then next thing you know, like you go through the 4 days, we're like, damn, like I just fucked 4 bitches. Yeah, you fuck 5 bitches, you know what I'm saying? And then you're like, damn, I haven't pussy for a long motherfucking time, right?
That used to happen to me.
Yeah, so
Yeah, all of a sudden you get like, it'd be weird, right? Like you have, for me, I wasn't in college,
Mm-hmm.
I was working. But all of a sudden I get all this action in this one central time zone, a month or two, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, what the fuck is going on here, man? Right? And then all of a sudden it'll come back.
Yeah.
3 or 4 girls.
It's like a swing, and then it comes back. Yeah.
Right. This is some crazy shit.
Shit, man. Like I've had a blowout. Like, okay, I've had regular months for like the last 6 or 7 months have been regular, because like not seeing anything, but just real life regular shit. It's been kind of like a really moderate 6 or 7 months since I've had my hip problems, But June had been like a blowout month. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this is all in my personal life. So, it's like you go through that where like right now at the stretch we're like kind of laying low because both my hips are fucked up. But I know like once I get this ironed out and I'll be able to return to my physical aspects of my life, that of course will be an upswing in the action. So it comes and goes.
That's where all this time, man.
Put it.
So, all right, back to let's go to your first scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, you know what? I want to ask this question. Before you got into porno, what was the longest session you had with a girl, fucking wise? 1 hour, 2 hours, 5 hours?
Well, before porno, there was this girl in college in Syracuse named Valerie. And I remember that we went through a tape and a half, which would have been which would have been
a porno tape and a half?
No,
Music.
So that's an hour, or that's 135 minutes. So 2 hours straight. But you're young. 17, 18, 19. You know, in the best shape of your life. Everything is working to its optimal greatness. The girl, her 19-year-old pussy is literally drooling gobs of pure,
beauty,
beautiful wetness. Like,
is that beautiful or what? It's the best.
And you're like, damn, like.
And you can smell it. I can smell it right now.
That was like, yeah, I'll never forget. And I took for granted at the time when I was experiencing like that. Now I'm looking back like, man, like, anyway.
Beautiful, right? That's the way it is. You just don't know. But we had so much, you know, pussy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first scene you did you, how much, were you nervous? You said you really weren't because you had already did your, you know, swinger parties and everything.
Well, the first scene that I did were professional?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yes, I was nervous, yeah. The girl that I was paired with, she was real cool. She was real comforting. It was like maybe her third scene. This was for a company called, the producer was Charles Stone, and the company called Caesar Video.
Caesar Video,
you know,
because
remember Charles Stone up in?
I don't know, but you know who knew him and got their start at Caesar Video?
Yeah.
Pumper.
Yeah. Up at the Wedge, up at Al's Wedge, up in the Bronx.
No, she doesn't.
Yeah, you know the documentaries from the HBO documentary, Hookers at the Point?
Yeah.
At the point where the hookers walk at night and the patrons pay because his pussy's all right. You know, the guy would talk in poetry.
It's the HBO, right?
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? The guy would talk, the narrator would talk in these poetic, you know, phrases about so that was where I got started for video, was the girls from there.
And so the first scene, you were a little nervous?
So I was nervous. She comforted me. It was like her third scene for the company. And she was the type of woman that I liked, you know, so like visually,
big titties?
Titties weren't all that, but they were nice. Okay. Maybe like a full C cup, small D. But she was like, she actually was a trainer from Florida, and she also boxed, I remember. Yeah, man, so she made me, you know, she made it real comfortable, and I was nervous because it was the first time that I had responsibility. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, okay, everybody in here is here because they're being paid, and if I fuck up, I'm fucking up everybody's shit, right? And
that's what you went through your head. Huh?
Oh yeah, and because with the girl, with her, I was thinking to myself like, wait a minute, you know, she literally can just act, and to me, I didn't know how to act, so I really was like, okay, I'm gonna do the same thing I did when we were doing the swinger parties. It's just now, I gotta do certain things when I'm told to do them. And so I had to get used to that. So yeah, I was nervous. You know, I knew physically I was attracted to the girl. So I knew I'd be, you know, but can you maintain the hard on? You know what I'm saying? Can I come when I'm told? Can I not come until I'm told? You know what I'm saying? So those are a lot of stuff that was going in my head. But I was given the best opportunity to perform well. Where like what I'm saying is they didn't throw me under the bus. Like they gave me a nice environment, you know, but it really was that whole proverbial scenario where everybody's on one side of the room and the director's sitting in a high chair and someone stands in front of him with the thing, you know, act one, you know, scene one, you know, click, and then the director, and action.
Really?
You know, it was the whole nine.
They're really fronting a little bit, huh?
Yeah,
a little bit.
It was like just what I don't know. It looked so porno, but it was reality. You know what I'm saying? Like literally, the director's in the high chair. He's got the turtleneck on and safari jacket. It's like, okay, camera one. You know, you got the guy holding the mic, and it really action. I'll never forget that. You know, and then you know, we did our thing. You know, but it was like I had a comfortability with being in front of the camera from doing it at the swinger parties,
Big
right?
deal.
Yeah, and the thing that it also, it's crazy the way these things work out. At those swing parties, although there wasn't the pressure because it was recreational, like we weren't man whores and like that. We went there to have fun. No one was getting paid. But here's the thing, Matt. The pressure came from the thought that you knew they drove 8 hours to get there. Right? Or the pressure was you drove 6 hours and you didn't want to drive all the way the fuck out here just to bomb and waste your time. Right? So I always was prepared because I knew that there was a consequence for what brought us there. So when I was doing the swinger thing, it was how long someone arrived to get to where we're doing this, or how long it took me. With porno, it became everybody's there because we're being paid. So I always was in tune with the obligation as to what everybody was or why everybody was there, and that mattered to me. So that was a little bit, you know, helped me to, you know, to be able to do it out of the box, and so I knew the importance of and even stuff like as far as the cum shot, you know, when that mattered. We were doing cum shots when we were doing the swinger thing, because they'd always want to get like when you came on the wife's face.
Some kinky people.
Yeah, you know, so it was like, and like, you know, and the thing is like it was a big deal because think about it, you would have to take off your condom
That's
and
hard.
then jerk off on the girl's face. So it was always a thing. The cum shot was always, so I came into porno being ready to deliver a cum shot, you know.
But doesn't that contradict the condom?
What?
The facial cum shot?
Oh, yeah, it's like, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. So, like, you're going to let me blow my shit all over into your eyes, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then, you know.
But anyways.
But then again, it's like, so, you know, if they don't want to get pregnant and they're not on any type of contraception, you know, then, but, you know, looking back on it, there was as much of the swinger stuff that was happening bareback as it was condom when I think about it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because over the years, it got to the point where there was no condom use in swingers.
You say Buccaneer style.
Swashbuckling.
Swashbuckling.
You know what I'm saying? We're like, yeah, like,
Sounds like a good time. Sometimes,
I mean, no, generally it's always a good time, you know, but it's just a case where it's like, damn, I mean, you know, you find that people that are outside the industry are more sexual, than we are on the inside. It's just like, okay, because I've been there, some of the clubs where, like, sex clubs where you're like, I can't believe that just happened. And I do porn, I'm like, I can't believe that just happened. What I just saw right there is disgusting. Yeah. and I do porno, right? Yeah. And I do porno, man. I see some stuff, man, where you're like, that was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life, and it was done and executed by a woman that had nothing to do with porno. You know, and I had to look at the guy in his face and not tell him what I saw his girl do. You know. And it was hard to do. And no one at the table could tell him what we all witnessed, you know.
People. That's all I can say. People.
Yeah, like, you know, we couldn't, like, so.
Well, how much did they pay you for the first scene?
Man, well, okay. So, you know, how it works. People may not know how it works. How, like, men are paid based on the frequency of our work and that's why we're paid less than women. Where we might have to do 2 scenes to make the same money as 1 scene for a woman, but we'll get 4 scenes while she'll only have gotten the 1. So we make our money through repetition. Well, when I started, I would say I might have made like maybe $250. I would say maybe $250
for those guys.
Yeah, my first couple of years. I would say from '96, December '96 was my first test, which meant that
96 or 97.
No, 96.
96,
December '96 was my first actual. See, the swinger stuff that I was doing before that didn't require a test because it wasn't professional.
Yeah.
It was either condom or no condom. But then when I started doing movies in what was January of '97,
Caesar made you get a test?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then I would start shooting in January '97, and then my first scene in LA, which you were involved in, was December of '97. So I worked pretty consistently in New York with Caesar Video for a year before I went up to LA for my first scene in LA.
So you were getting a good grooming. I mean, it was great. You were really fortunate.
And the people that I was working with, the girls that were in the scenes, the guys that were also shooting with us, everybody was brand new, so no one had a frame of reference. So it really wasn't a case of somebody you being to learn by watching someone work next to you. It was more learning through experience. Yeah. So like and it wasn't until I got to LA that like all of a sudden I'm thrusting, and one side of me is Guy De Silva and the other side of me is TTBoy, and I can sit back and watch them execute. Like, okay, so that's the way you open up effectively. That's where you gotta keep your hands when a girl is riding you, and you can't always just grab her ass because you're blocking her ass being seen in the shot.
Shawn Michaels' fingers, by the way, are long.
So long, so yeah. So you know what I'm saying. So yeah, so yeah. So,
and how did I do in that scene? I remember the scene.
Yeah, no, it was eye opening. It was eye opening because it was like literally being like, okay, and because Guy had been around for a while too.
Yeah, but he was never
He wasn't like, but Guy was a good dude.
Nice guy. Nice guy.
Good guy.
Nice guy. I can't say anything bad about him, but he was not even close to an A-level performer.
No, maybe not.
Maybe a B or B minus, right? But
No.
You know what I'm talking. He's a nice guy. Mm-hmm. But in any case, so you really got it. You were fortunate. That's great to have that, because it's really difficult when you don't have that.
Yeah.
And the truth is, I was given something like that. Not really, but a little bit. What happened was there was a company that was shooting a lot of scenes for low money, $125 a scene. But I said, oh, no problem. You know what I mean? And that is really, I would do 4 scenes a day, right? Happily, hungrily, and enjoyably. But that gave me a little edge because it gives you a little bit of training when you hit the big sets, the hard directors. Because there's some directors in those days, man, that you heard. Gerard Damiano. I worked for him. He's the deep throat guy. You had John Leslie had pressure, in those days, Paul Thomas never had pressure, but he still was a big name, And Henry Bouchard had a big name. You see these names and you'd be on these sets.
Yeah.
You'd be like, and the Dark Brothers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'd be like,
Craig, yeah.
Right? And so you'd be like, because, Lex, it was even more mysterious in the 80s. Mysterious, you know what I mean? Where's porno so small? That's why I came, you know what I mean? So it's very, meaning that since it's more mysterious, it's more of a psych out because it's more of a big deal kind of. That's how I think of it, But when you came in, you kind of gradually went. Caesar Video wasn't some big giant director and, big company like VCA or Vivid or, in those days, what I mean?
Yeah.
Right?
It prepared me for, because if it wasn't for Caesar, then when I did come to LA, I wouldn't have been prepared, for that type of pressure that you described.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe maybe I would have been one of the ones that would have failed early and not got a chance to catch on. And I would have went back, because like I said, if you know, as a guy, you know, the turnover rate is so high, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, it's like the industry doesn't need more guys. We just need guys that can do it. And so I could end up, you know, being right back in New York had I not done well enough to stay. And it has all to do with, you know, getting experience back home and you know, being ready.
You wonder sometimes how many people didn't just go a little bit longer, right?
Yeah.
And they could have been great, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So a little help, or a little psychology, more effort on the psychology factor, right? A little bit more, a little push. You don't know what you could have did in certain things.
Yeah.
But in porno, for sure, it's a skill. It's very difficult before pre-Viagra, you know?
Yeah.
Especially, right?
Yeah.
Bigger sets.
Yeah, well, definitely if some guys, I mean, look, even now, you know, you have a lot of guys that are, you know, in it now, that are successful now that may not have been back in the day, right? But the thing is by the same token, I definitely think that the industry has gotten better because of it. I think that the sex possible has become better because of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I heard some people tell me that it feels like some of the soul, you know, has been taken out of the business.
But who said that? The consumer or somebody on the production side?
Production side.
Okay, so you know, there might be some truth to that, but see, my thing, looking at it from a director, you gotta, as you know, you as a director and producer, we as producers and directors can say, you know what, today lasted 2 hours when back in the day it would have been 6, or it could have been 4 hours when today we get out of here in 3 with a good scene. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
yeah, a lot of people didn't get their dicks hard sometimes. You know what I mean?
Me too. You know what I'm saying? But man, I mean, you know what I'm saying? I know with some of the girls, I know they appreciate. I know some of the chicks appreciate the fact that medical, you know, the miracles of modern medicine changed the industry for the better.
Oh yeah, those girls used to.
I mean,
sitting there, you know, sucking on the lollipop for an hour and be like, wow.
You know, and made their, you know, I mean, made their job a lot easier, because a lot of times, you know, you're so reliant upon the chick, and sometimes the girls really weren't having it, you know, and if they weren't having it, then your day got a lot more challenging.
It could be something, you know.
Yeah. I just don't like, man, like for, you know, outside of the industry before I got into it, there wasn't. It's like if you wanted to fuck for 7 minutes, it was cool. But it wasn't until I got into the industry where it was like, no, you have to fuck until we tell you to stop. Mm-hmm. And that was something that was a big adjustment, because when I was on the East Coast, you know, pretty much because it was somewhat amateur by comparison, I could fuck, and if I needed to stop, I would just stop, and they would be like, okay, let us know. But in LA, it wasn't like that. It was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Did I tell you to stop?
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, damn, like, and I would feel my dick getting softer, and I'd be like, I need to stop, you know. And then when they would be like, we didn't tell you, you know, I'm like, well, and I was like, damn, when, you know, so it was a rude awakening.
That must have been funny.
Yeah.
You thought you were doing good, right? Oh yeah.
I thought I was doing good, but you know, but very, very, very soon you realize that, this is major leagues.
Yeah.
What I was doing before was preparatory, but you know, now we're making movies for broad commercial distribution, not someone's, you know,
neighborhood,
personal library, but Caesar Video gave me a good chance to get my feet wet and develop my craft, my skill before I came to LA.
Oh, you got lucky a little bit there.
Oh yeah, and then Charles from Caesar birthed a number of other stars. I was like maybe his first guy, but like as we spoke of earlier, Brian Pumper came through there. Who's the other guy that we just spoke of earlier? Nat Turner shot for Caesar. Yeah.
Really?
Johnny Depp as well. So,
What about the directors?
Mm-hmm.
What directors did you like working for and thought were very talented?
Directors I enjoy working for? I would say in the very beginning, Mike Raven, and these are names that may not mean so much now because of time, but at the time, then, to shoot for Michael was a big deal. And the reason being was because, you could tell that there was something innovative about his approach to shooting porno. And that was cool. In terms of the fact that it was the first time that I worked with a director where I was exposed to a director who shot from a movie making standpoint that included hardcore sex. We're shooting a movie that just happens to have a great sex scene in it, instead of it being a sex scene and then we're shooting some backstory just to link together the sex scenes, right? So Michael Raven, and he was shooting for Wicked and Vivid at the time, but primarily it was my stuff I did for him for Wicked. Pardon me. And then Mike John was instrumental for me as a performer, because he taught me how to allow my personality to become a part of the capture. As far as when he brought the camera up here, it wasn't just for me to put on a fuck face and be like, oh. It was more for me to look into the camera and give personality to the camera. And that was why what we did was historic and still remains special to this day. And then also he taught me how to shoot camera. And shooting camera is very, very important because, and you know this, as you progress from performer to director, it was what you did as a director that was going to be sustaining for the rest of your life. It's kind of like teaching a man to fish, and then he could feed himself for forever. So, and then I would say, after Mike Raven, Mike John, then there was directors like Axel Braun, who was cool because I got to do a lot of acting in his movies.
So you liked the acting part? Yeah,
I always enjoyed. I'm a member of Screen Actors Guild. I've been a member of Screen Actors Guild since 2008. You know what I'm saying? So, so I can actually, hold it down in terms of dialogue and what have you. Importantly for directors, especially because black directors was Jake Steed, because it was the first time I worked for a black director who put together a fun storyline as to why we arrived at the sex. Regardless of how crazy it was a case where we did something that ended up with us having sex. It wasn't like, we stand up and we walk into the room and the girl takes her clothes off and begins blowjobs. It was, we did something that arrived at the action, which was always really cool.
Was that Freaks, Hoes, and Flows, or?
No, well, Freak, Hoes, and Flows for me was more like just show up and fuck. It was more monsters when Jake was really getting into, putting together something that meant this is why you end up fucking. And that had a lot to do with how I ended up directing, because I ended up directing my stuff in a way that there's a reason that ended up with you fucking. You know, as compared to if you see me with other people's stuff and it's a girl being shot beautifully and then the action begins. My stuff always had, you know, there's going to be some even ad-lib dialogue that's going to end up as to, you know, creating the moment for you guys to have sex. You know, and then the last director, so that Mike John, Michael Raven, Jake Steed, Axel Braun, because Axel, you know, had me starring in big budget features. And then lastly, and without, you know, I can't forget Jules Jordan, because working with Jules actually served me for two reasons. Not only it served me as a performer, because of the way he shot and seeing the way he captured stuff that we did together. We had a series called The Impaler, and Lexington Impaler was like a great series that we did for over 10 years. But it was seeing the way he shot and then honing my skill so my stuff looked closer and closer to his videographic capture. Like the way he captured was the same style I used, but his was the more polished version of that style. So Mike John taught me how to shoot the style and was one of the creators of the style. But then it progressed for me to, I used what Mike taught me to how Jules shot, and that combination, you know, actually, you know, polished out the rest of and completed the rest of my style as a shooter. And then, so I would say that's, you know, what, 5 names right there? Mm-hmm. And I would say I would include myself as a director. And the reason why I have to say I include myself is because when I shot for others, I always was aware of what I was providing, right? So I knew that if I was providing a shot that they weren't getting from other guys, because I could open my hips a certain degree and I had the length to give them a broader side of the penetration, I always was thinking to myself, like, man, I wish I had this in my own movies. And so, you know, as a performer, I said, when I start making my own movies and directing my own movies, you know, I'm going to know that this is what is the right way for someone to be providing you a shot. So, becoming a director is what has been sustaining for me economically for the last, number of years. What I did as a company owner, not what I did as a performer. Yeah.
Did you ever, while you were being a performer, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Did you ever feel competitive? Like you had to be the best? You had to do a better scene than your fellow performer or performer you might not have liked, you know what I mean? On that same movie, on that same set?
I would say that, yeah. If I'm doing a one-on-one or it's a boy-girl, me, myself, or me and another guy working with a female, those situations were less competitive because I believe in a one-on-one, you have a lot of responsibility. In a two-on-one, you have a lot of responsibility that's shared. So it was more of a cooperative effort. It wasn't until, it wasn't, I mean, from the very beginning, through Anabolic and Diabolic, 2 companies that were very well responsible for my name, the gangbangs were the big deal. The 10 on 1 and 10 or more for Anabolic, and the 5 on 1s for Diabolic. So those were competitive scenarios because at the time, Anabolic would always hire, as many of those 10 guys, they would be some of the top, close to the top 10 guys working at the time. So all those were always competitive scenarios where you didn't want to be seen as anything less than one of the top few guys on that set. So I never necessarily battled to emerge as, and we say battled as if it's a combat, but I never performed in a way that I wanted to necessarily outperform the other guy, but I wanted to be distinguishable. And so when I got to the point where I was offering a level of distinction, it just so happened that the way I distinguished myself provided a greater impact than others. So it might have seemed like I was being competitive, but I was always just trying to compete or trying to perform at my greatest level, my optimal level. If my optimal level seemed to prove better or higher rate than yours and the next man, then that wasn't my issue, that was that person's issue, right? So, but the problem that comes with that is, not a problem, but a circumstance that comes with that is, as I started my own company, I realized that every scene that I had in my movies had to be of a certain level, because I couldn't have my scene and then the next scene that didn't include me be any less than my scene, right? So I always had to hire like the more expensive male performers, you know what I'm saying? So my budgets were higher because not only did I have to hire, you know, we all were hiring the same type of chicks who would be moderate to expensive, but when you have to hire an expensive guy as well, then your budgets become a little bit more inflated. So, but it came with the territory, and it's the mechanics of making good stuff, you know.
Who, in your opinion, because you had to hire the good people, who were those actors?
Well, I would say over the years, you know, I hired Marcus a ton of times, was one of the guys that always included in my productions. Then came John, was a big part of my productions over the years. Jean-Claude Baptiste was a great part of my productions. You know, this guys that did well, you know what I'm saying? And the majority of my stuff was always, you know, either interracial, black male to white female, or black on black. You know, once I had that, you know how it is, you have a core group of dudes and you try and work within that. So, and they're all were well, you know, pretty well paid for what they did. So my budgets always included having to pay the top dudes. And, in my opinion, they always, you know, Prince Joshua, Rico Strong.
People say Prince was a pretty good performer.
I mean, you know, I've always thought that Prince has been a strong performer, a very strong performer. So, I would include him, especially in my Evil Angel stuff towards the end. And what I mean towards the end was my last few productions with Evil Angel that I did through them. When I had two-on-ones, he was my guy that I would put in my two-on-ones. And then, I mean, what he's been through, what he's overcome, you know, he came back from a very, very traumatic injury. And to come back from that, I mean, my hat's off to the dude. However he did it, you know, he's one of the strongest performers that, you know, the business has seen. So, but yeah, he was always one of my guys.
And Rico was good too, you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, Rico was good. Rico had great size, you know. When he was on his game, I mean, like, you know, he was definitely a guy that would come in that was bigger than me. So, you know, it was almost like if he did a good scene, you would guarantee that, you know, the movie would be great, because it was like, not only you got a guy with my size, but then Rico was even bigger than me, you know, like. You know, like I never, like you shot Fred, right? You shot Mandingo often, right? Mm-hmm. See, like with Fred, I could never, I don't know what you paid for it, but I think it was more than I was able to pay him. So I didn't have Mandingo. I keep calling him by his first name. I didn't have Mandingo in my productions at the very beginning. I had him in my stuff once I was getting budgets from West Coast, and then I could afford the budget to pay him. But so Rico was the largest, you know, and then Jack's rate was up there. Although I didn't hire Jack that much because he was exclusive with West Coast. And then, but what, you know, I couldn't afford Mandingo. Jack was under contract. So of all the supersized guys that were larger than me, the only other guy available of that size was Rico, you know, available to the open market. So. So my interracial, my black on black, always featured guys that were, that came in and held it down as strong as I did. And then I kind of, said to myself, I can't limit myself to only shooting black male to white female and black on black. And that's when I started. Marco Banderas was one of my guys. So I had a couple dudes that were, were really good that I hired. That weren't, kind of got a little more variety towards the end.
Was there any actors that you didn't like?
Any actors that I didn't like? Any dudes that I had problems with? No, no, I can't really say that there was any dudes that I had issues with. Primarily because it never really concerned me about the guys. Whereas like when I got on a set, my job was to have sex with the chick, right? So me and you didn't necessarily have to get along. We just had to work in the same work environment. That's the way I saw it. You know what I'm saying? So like there were girls that I had definitive issues with, where it's like,
oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Who?
I mean, okay. I mean, and these are popular girls, but there were certain times where there were problems. I mean, like Julia Ann, who I absolutely love Julia Ann, but one of the things that she used to do to me was she used to pinch the base of my dick in such a way that it would in some ways diminish the intensity of my hard-on. So it would be easier for her to either take me upon penetration or either take me in a blowjob scenario.
What the fuck?
Yeah, so by placing pressure with her thumb at the bottom of my urethra, it would take away from the blood flow, diminishing the intensity of the hard-on.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, and after having worked with her several times, I finally said, Julia, please stop doing that. And she was like, what are you talking about? I was like, you know what you're doing. And she knew that I knew that, like, yo, bitch, when I mean, like, yo, stop pinching me like that, because you know you're doing it on purpose. And then from that, after that, but up until that point, I knew that working with her was going to be great, because she was going to elevate my popularity because of her status. But by the same token, I was like, every time I would work with her, I'll be at risk of having issues, because she was doing something that you can't look to the camera and tell the camera she's pinching my dick on the bottom so my hard-on is waning. Or I'm not losing my hard-on because I can't do this, but because my circulation is being interfered with.
That's crazy. I never heard of that. I mean, I understand it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But once she stopped doing it, the last few times we worked together were fantastic. Now, another chick that I had a big beef with Lisa Ann. Lisa's one of the greatest performers of all time, but she's known for sometimes rubbing people the wrong way. Have you ever worked with Lisa?
I did her first scene.
Okay.
1994, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Up
in the hills in Hollywood Hills. And it's fine. I'm in my prime, and she's young and she's pretty. It's cool.
Yeah.
She was sexy, had the natural tits back then.
Yeah.
And she was nice. But you know what? She never did it for me. But she was sexy and she was nice. So I worked there 5-6 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
her and I.
what happened?
Well, through one of my Evil Angel titles.
You know what, Lex? Maybe when something happens, when time goes by, people act different. Their head gets blown up. People get weird. But go ahead.
Well, yeah. I think she got to the point where hugely popular, and I put together a movie that was going to feature scenes that included her and I. So it was kind of like a Lex versus Lisa Ann type of thing. But what it was is this variations of scenes: 1-on-1, anal, 2-on-1, girl, boy, and 3-on-1 and a 2-on-2, different combinations. But after the 4 scenes of working with her, and the 5th scene, and albeit the last scene, was going to be a girl, boy, in which she was going to use a strap on, and we were going to DP the other girl. And me and Lisa had just had enough of each other over 5 scenes together in a row. And what people don't realize is, we can get tired of working with each other in this business, you know. You know what I'm saying? And Lisa's a wonderful business mind. But I was the director of the movie, and by the 5th scene, she lost sight of the fact that just because you have influence over what we're doing in production, it doesn't mean that it's just a case where we are including your interpretation of the scene because out of respect for you, but you are not the director. By the last scene, it was like she thought she was the director, and I was like, I was really about to be like, you know what? Let's get the fuck out of here, right? But I couldn't. Because, I mean, like, you're 5 scenes in, and she still is Lisa Ann.
Yeah.
So it was like, it was the first time I got to the point where I was so angered at one person that I said, you know what? I said, once we get out there, I said, you can put the strap on from the beginning of the scene. Because as far as I was like, I'm not going to be, you and I are going to have no interaction. You could interact with her as if you were a straight up dude from the beginning of the scene. In terms of I was letting her know that, you know what, I'm not going to be, you don't have to worry about me touching you. You know what I'm saying? But she, and it ended up being a great scene. But it's a case where, and Lisa and I are at this, we've been cool for years, but it was a case where we both could agree that we had gotten on each other's nerves so much to the point where we actually felt that we didn't like each other enough. You know what I'm saying? And so you don't want to maintain a bad relationship with a chick because you have to work with them again.
Yeah, no, it can be touchy.
Yeah, and the girls, when people, men as performers, we realize, a chick, she really does hold a lot of sway over you as a guy, because a chick can ruin your day or make it very difficult for you to do your job, or she can make you a superstar on that day. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that one time that me and Lisa butted heads, I let it be. It was just that one time, but no, I don't maintain any. I do maintain dislike for one person, and which will never change. But just one person. In the 20 plus years I've been in the major leagues, only one person do I absolutely, abhor. Vanessa Blue. That's understandable, though.
That was a significant other, right?
No. We were in a very significant relationship, but we never become like, husband and wife or anything like that. We had been engaged, but it's just a case where I had never been done so irrevocably, unforgivably dealt with that I would, I haven't been there before. So if you ask me if there's any one person that I'm completely, will never be another cool moment, is unfortunately with Vanessa, but it happens,
You want to keep that?
Yeah. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I don't even want to, okay. I wish her well, but, and it's mutual. There's not anything that needs to be said about the other. But when asking me if there's someone, there is. Yeah.
That'll be the mystery.
Yeah. It ain't no mystery. I mean, one can go online. It's just like, but it's a case where, you know what I'm saying? Like when there's beef, you can choose to run somebody out or, to run it on somebody. But if they're not there, it's not cool. See what I'm saying? So I could say my side of it, and her interpretation, it'd be a disservice to her because she's not here to represent her interpretation.
And this is not that show. Yeah. You know what I mean? Well, I'm trying to bring positivity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't like the dirt, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can be fun if it's not too dirty, you know what I mean? But anyway, so let's move on. what's your favorite scene? Can you remember? You know, you did a lot of scenes. And how many scenes do you think you've done, and which one was your favorite?
All right.
Because you kind of said maybe 2,000, maybe.
Yeah, but you know the mathematics and scenes versus number of chicks. I would say the number of scenes. I would be in it. There's no way I could accurately represent it, because even if you look on Wikipedia, the number that they give will be a number of titles you've appeared in. And we spoke of this before, where you appeared in one title, but you've done all 4 out of 5 scenes in that title, right? And so that's the case with me in a lot of cases. So I don't know what my full number actually would be. If one was to ask me what are my favorite scenes, it's hard to say specifically, but there's a couple scenes that come to mind. One, I did a 12 on a reverse gangbang where I was working with 12 girls, right? And that was incredible. And then there was another scene I did at the in Monte Carlo after the Cannes Film Festival, in which I worked with at the moment the world's greatest superstar at the moment, you know, Sylvia Saint. I did a scene with Sylvia Saint in Monte Carlo.
How was so that's a great one. It was great.
My God,
she's pretty.
Yeah, she's super pretty. I mean, she was, you know, she was so beautiful. You know, certainly on par with like the way I felt about like Naomi, as I spoke about her earlier. Sylvia was the ultimate, but she was also a demon. You know what I'm saying? Like, she was a great performer. I mean, she was like a monster as a performer. Like literally, I said about early going to bed early the night before. Like you couldn't work the day before working with Sylvia because you didn't want to. You wanted to make sure that you didn't want to waste. She was so expensive. So you didn't want to waste. You knew that there was going to be a lot of weight on you or pressure on you because someone spent a grip to hire her. So it was like, you know, but it brought out the best. It you know, one of my best scenes. It was definitely one of my most memorable ones because it cost a lot to get me where I was, and to do that scene meant a lot as to where I had arrived as a performer. And the 12 on one, to go back to that was fun because of what took to do that scene and what transpired was fun, and it was a study in sociology as well. Yeah.
I love Sylvia Saint's name. Sounds good, right?
Yeah.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah.
I worked with her in a photo shoot. Yeah. I didn't get to fuck her.
Oh no, yeah, man. She was, yeah.
So, do you like pussy better or like fucking the girls in the ass better?
Nah, you know, I prefer pussy. You know, the way I look at it is like when I do anal, I've never felt that my dick was in a place that was meant specifically to receive my dick. Now, granted, when I do anal, I feel that I'm able to get inside of the woman. It's obviously deeper and in such a way that I really feel like, you know, I'm really inside this woman. Because like when you go through the anal cavity, you're entering her body. Whereas the vaginal cavity is like a pocket with a little hole at the far end of it. It has a specific capacity, right? Maximum capacity. But an anus, the back end does not stop. So there's some benefits to anal, but I prefer pussy because when I'm in pussy, it's self-lubricating in such a way that the fluids that it emits specifically have a viscosity that's made to make it slippery for my dick to slide in and out of and feel good. The anus has nothing like that in particular. You know.
Yeah.
So.
I'm with you. I'm all about pussy.
Yeah.
Wrong pussy. But who do you believe, or who do you think had the best head game out of all those girls? Can you pick one? Or 2 if you want.
Kitten. For those who remember Kitten.
So she had the pussy and the head?
Yeah.
You said the pussy was crazy.
Yeah. Kitten was.
I missed her.
But okay, Obsession.
Yeah.
Remember Obsession?
Of course.
For blowjobs? Whew. You remember her blowjobs?
But she had good pussy too.
Yeah. Oh my God. Her
pussy.
shit was like. She was Obsession had bomb ass pussy.
Bomb.
Like, right? That was the word that comes.
That's the dangerous pussy where.
Yeah. Where you're like, you know what I'm saying? You're like, okay, let me, you gotta get in there and be like, okay, get a grip on yourself. No, okay. And then you gotta be like, okay, as long as she doesn't do this, I can handle it. You know what I'm saying? We'll be good as long as she yeah.
She was cool too, nice person.
Yeah.
Did you always smoke weed before your scenes?
Do I? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I would say that when I started, I really wasn't so much of a pot smoker before I started, but Monique, contract girl with video team, she smoked.
Monique?
Yeah, the Monique, right?
Strong Monique.
Yeah, right,
Small but strong.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? She smoked herbs, and she was the first person that got me smoking. I started smoking with her on a regular basis, and so yeah, that's when I really became like known as a smoker, because I do smoke. Try to smoke weed I would say I definitely smoked weed every time before every scene, going back to '98.
It got you into the zone, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it allowed me, yes, and that's the best way to put it. Got me into the zone because it allowed me to be comfortable because it brought out the attributes of exhibitionism. Like I was innately competitive, so I had no problem with the proving of myself in front of the camera, but I had to get a comfortability with being an exhibitionist. Whereas, like, when it came time to fuck, yeah, it would be easy to have my dick out, but at a certain point, you got to be comfortable with being butt-ass naked, because at a certain point, you have to realize that you operate in the naked, right? So I had to become comfortable with being an exhibitionist, and I think that was important.
I want to say one more time, Monique was very sensitive, super sweet, nice.
Yeah.
It is still alive,
yeah.
For sure. But when I think about it, she was really nice.
Yeah. No, she was really cool. I mean, and what people look at her performances, and in some ways, I think that can lead people to believe the type of person a person is. In her case, I mean, like, she was not like, she wasn't. Her performances were wild and crazy because that was her sexuality. But I mean, like, she was super cool. Yeah,
so, she had the sweetness in her.
Yeah, yeah.
Strong, but she was super sweet. Yeah. So here's a good question: what was it like winning the most coveted award? I believe, what I mean, is Performer of the Year.
Yeah.
What was it like? When we're in the porn business, we're performing. You know what I mean? So that's the number one award, I believe.
Yeah.
That for me. What was it like? How did you feel after, and how did you feel?
All right, so I won it 2000, 2002, and 2003, right? The first time that I won it, and this is based on the work you did before the year so my 2000 was based on my 99 work, right? So that was a great for me. That was a great accomplishment because 99 was my second full year in the business, and so that meant that in 2 years I had put in enough work that I was nominated. So I thought really my thing was when I was nominated, I was satisfied because I was like, who cares whether I won? There's like 10 dudes that get named ahead of time, and then when you show up on the awards night, they only list like half the numbers that they list. So I felt a winner because I had been nominated. You know what I'm saying? And so when I won, it was a very big deal to me because, I'm saying it was a very big deal to people in addition to me because it was the first time that a black man had won the award. So it was kind of like, it kind of felt like.
Shawn Michaels didn't win that one?
No, Shawn's never won male performer. No.
Really?
I'm the only black person that's ever won a performer, male or female.
Really? Still today?
Still to this day, yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so like my first victory was crazy because it was like everybody won. Because my win was like, that was Sean's win, that was Marcus's win, that was Jade, all the years that all the brothers probably could have won had it not been for the fact that maybe they were ready for a black guy to win. So that was important. 2002, not for nothing, but I was a bad motherfucker, man. So after I won the first time, between 2000 and 2002, I was like, nah, man, I was like fucking Michael Jordan, man. I was like.
That was your prime.
Well, I would say it was my
peak.
I would say, yeah, because I hadn't really gotten into the responsibility of running. I didn't establish Mercenary.
Which will fuck you up.
Yeah, right. So it was just having fun, right? It was just like, I was like fucking like hanging from trees and shit. You know what I'm saying, right? Making money, like my rate was like,
Whoa, what was the rate?
Man, my rate was like, man, I was at $1,000, man, by 2000. I earned 2001 at $1,000.
I was shooting you for Jake, the Monsters, right? And I said to myself, Lex is getting good.
Yeah.
I remember because, I watched you grow from, right?
From the very beginning, yeah. So 2002, it wasn't a surprise that I won. And it wasn't a surprise to anybody else. It was 2003 that was a surprise because no one had won back-to-back before. I think Rocco probably won back-to-back. Yeah, but for me to win back-to-back was a big deal because I didn't expect, I was nominated and I understood that, but I didn't expect to win. I didn't expect to win that one. That one was like, holy shit, like, like, damn, all right, So the first one and the third one were the ones that were like a really big deal to me, And then I won like this thing called the Venus Convention, which is in Berlin. But the big difference in the Venus Convention is like it has the whole world there, right? And like LA has mostly North American companies, but Venus has like the whole globe. 178 countries. I didn't know like 178 countries shoot porno, really? But that many countries are represented at Venus, right? And the first time I won like they have an award for their male performer of the year. It had never won by an American, and it represents like the whole, like Rocco wins like every year, right? Or Nacho, or Tony Rivas wins, or Manuel, right? All before they started coming to the United States, but those type of guys that win it every year, And so I won that in 2004, and that was a big deal, because I won that amongst all the European dudes that have been, like always win the male performer award at Venus, which is the global male performer. So I had my period where, I was one of the guys, but I probably had a lot more, shine than some of the other dudes in my era, in that era.
Uh-huh. Did you feel people trying to kiss your ass a little more after something like that? No, because you know what? Because I never really,
I never just tried to I would never, I wasn't really I would never use those accolades as a reason to hold over anybody. So no one really had a reason to hate me or feel jealous of me because they knew that all that mattered to me was you hold your shit down once the camera goes on. I'm going to be doing my shit. Understand that I'm not going to get in your way if you can either step up to what I'm going to be doing or not. It's just going to be on you and how you look in the end of the scene. But generally speaking, because how I was taught how to do multiples with other guys in the scenes, I was kind of trained to not leave, leave somebody else in the trenches. Whereas like if you're in a 2-on-1 and it comes time for cowgirl or reverse cowgirl, right? And you knew the other dude is not that strong today. So the way I was trained was if that meant that you stayed on the bottom the whole scene, that meant that you held it down. And it wasn't because someone needed to get the cowgirl and reverse cowgirl positions done. It much had to do with the fact that you didn't want dude to be made to look bad. Because in the end game, the consumer will watch that scene and be like, yeah, well, Lex was great, but the other guy was garbage, and so thereby the whole scene is garbage. So no one wins, because then Anabolic has one bad scene in the movie, and then the reviewer writes about the one bad scene, and then the consumer doesn't buy the whole movie because there was one bad scene where one guy was made to look poor or failing. And then so with Anabolic and Diabolic, it was like, no, it's like we were taught how to make sure that none of us look bad. And that would help me too, because I would be never left behind by dudes. If it was a DP and I knew I was not strong enough to anchor a DP, then Vince Warrior, Vince Warrior is not a big dude. But my 6'2", 225-pound ass, if he needed to be the anchor of a DP, he could anchor a DP with me pounding the girl, right? And both of us pounding on top of him, and he could hold it down. So it's like I never got to the point where I developed hate for me from other male performers, because I knew I would never make you look bad. I would do my thing, and I would do my thing to help you at least look like you're capable of doing your thing.
That's nice of you.
Yeah.
I'm not important. I'm not important. But but so how many awards do you think you won? You know exactly? I mean,
well, I have 26 AVNs.
26. That's great.
Yeah. Well, see, I remember what people take for granted is I won as a director as well. Uh-huh. So like half of my AVNs are performers, but the other half are, so 3 of them are male performers, one of them's Hall of Fame. So out of 26, remove those, that's 22. So out of 22 remaining AVNs, half are performer, maybe 2/3 are performer, and the other third are director. So I got both sides of the camera.
A lot of best sex scene awards.
Yeah, like best Gonzo movie, right? Best series, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Best POV series, yeah.
But that's really good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Those are the most coveted awards, you would think, you know what I mean? It matters who you respect the most. And let me ask you that question. How do you feel about those organizations? Let's start with the 3 now that are, I guess, more important that I know about, besides Venus, right? Venus called me up in '98 when they first were made, and they said, come out. I said, I'll come. They didn't have the right. I said, make sure it's business class. They gave me a coach. They're going to give me an award for going. I said, I'm myself, TTBoy.
Yeah.
If people that don't know, I'm a little crazy and pretty direct and straightforward and high strung. If I say something, I gotta do it. They said they're gonna do it. They didn't do it. I said, fuck you.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, but besides Venus, XRCO, AVN, and I guess now XBiz.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 main ones.
Yeah.
I guess there's a night move in Florida or something.
Yeah, I mean, but the main ones: AVN, XBiz, XRCO, Exotica. And then the big daddy is Venus, or used to be. Venus is, so those are the 5 big ones, yeah.
So how do you feel about the way they judge? And of course now, we don't want to forget, but Urban X, but they don't really, they don't count in this because they are different.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that AVN is more, let's say, political.
It's like our mainest of the mainstream. Although Urban X,
not
Urban X is coming up. Yeah, it's getting better because.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying is politically possibly incorrect, which I'm not saying Urban X is part of that.
Yeah.
But let's say Urban X is just the same as AVN. But I think that some of these are more politically incorrect and blind sometimes. I'm not saying Urban X is part of that. I'm saying these three possibly, and so I'm asking your opinion on that.
Well, I think AVN and XBiz as our leading publications and our main conventions have to toe a party line for for a lot of reasons. And so there's a lot of reasons that will go into why certain companies win every time, why certain toy companies are featured, and what have you. Now, there's new ownership with AVN, as of late, within the last 10 years or so. XBiz has gotten more, they've always been a business-oriented show, but now it's becoming more a performer-oriented show. So they serve different purposes. I've always felt that ethnic performers, Black and Latino performers, have gotten a lot less, attention and adoration and wins. And I think that while I count myself as like the one Black person that has accumulated a lot of these individually, I think that there's been probably more people that have been ignored than should have been. And I feel that just because I've won so much doesn't mean that they've done well in consideration of ethnic performers. See what I'm saying? If you're only going to give it to one person, that doesn't mean that you are acknowledging the whole industry in a way that it should have been. Because not for nothing, but I really believe that that a Prince Joshua should have perhaps gotten the nod for Male Performer of the Year at least once in his career. Coming back from what he came back from and then returning to the top of being one of the top guys is incredible. You know what happened to Prince, right?
I heard he broke his dick or something?
Yeah, there was a girl that literally snapped his dick in half, crashing down in a reverse cowgirl. And for him to come back from that and be regarded as one of the top guys is incredible. You know what I'm saying? How the hell is it that Shawn Michaels didn't get a Male Performer of the Year award in his tenure?
30 years?
Yeah, because you got to figure, if I trace my lineage back to 98 and Shawn was around well before I was.
Shawn's from 1988.
There it is there, And
I worked with Shawn side by side. Doesn't make sense that he didn't get that award.
Yeah.
But let me give you another example. Who didn't get the award? Guess who didn't get the award?
Yeah.
Peter North.
Never?
Never.
I wonder why is that?
I mean, do you know how many movies he did? A lot, right? He's a great performer. Special, obviously a special guy. He's a human X-Man.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, a real X-Man. Like, why?
That's, and damn.
Right? But,
But,
it's because he has a good tan? I don't know.
I don't know, but I mean, it's crazy because maybe there's something personal that maybe there's something that we don't know about. I don't know, but how does I would have assumed that he would have won multiple times. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like,
nor Mark Davis.
Really?
Really.
Man, that's great. I mean, like, I didn't really get to know Pete until after he had already stopped performing. I worked for him as he was a director, and I was in one of his movies. Mark Davis, I learned, he taught me a lot. You know, because with anabolic, I mean, like, you know, back in the day, like, those were the main dudes, and I came under, you know, I was like, I came as a rookie on their squad, like, you know what I'm saying? So that's why, like, with Sean, Davis, Voyer, all them dudes are the guys from my generation that taught me. And Davis never won. Davis is, you know, he was the best in that he connected with the chicks. I mean, the chicks liked him, but it was also, he was very good at, you know, what he would say to the chick to get him, you know, in the
So
yeah.
He's a great performer.
Yeah, and one thing that Davis had and that Rocco had that I always tried to learn was, I never got there, but the ability to get girls to do what other directors couldn't get them to do. Like, you know, like, as a director, have you ever seen a girl where you see her for someone else and you're like, word? She did that?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like,
I've heard it all.
Yeah, and it was like,
seen it all.
Yeah, I would see a Rocco movie and I'd be like, wait a minute, I shot that girl. She did that? Davis was like that, where I would see it, you know, where a girl, he could get a girl to you know, whether we were all like blowing her ass out, but she would gape when he told her to gape. But for everybody else, she could maybe open it up a little bit, but he would, and her asshole would open up like a fucking, you know. But yeah, I you know, yeah, those were two dudes that, and Pumper was like that also. Brian Pumper.
But get girls to.
Well, Brian was skillful in that he can get girls to do it.
They love him.
Yeah.
Yeah. He can get girls to do it. Pretty girls. Yeah.
Fucking fine girls. And it'll be the only scene that they would ever shoot and never see him again.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
Kind of, right? In that aspect, really.
That was his superpower,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, he really has that. He has the look and the speech that the girls love to hear.
Yeah.
So internationally, you've traveled, right? Can you run down fairly quickly where you've been on location and which place did you like the most?
Oh yeah. So okay. So Montreal, Toronto, let me see, Panama, Brazil, Costa Rica, Mexico. That's this hemisphere. Now going over to Europe, England, Budapest, Prague, Berlin, Frankfurt, Munich, Paris, Monte Carlo, Cannes, Zurich, Barcelona, Madrid, Jamaica, and then lastly, Tokyo. So that's 20 countries that I performed in.
You performed in all those?
Yep.
That is incredible.
Yep.
You're a full-fledged porno star.
Yep.
No, I mean, the people got to understand, right?
Yeah.
That's why, like, Nat Turner was saying, you're taking the X's off them because they think they're porno stars. Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're a fully internationally cultured, traveled porno star.
To do this,
Soiled experience, war-torn and war experience, right?
Yeah.
The war zone. It's a war zone sometimes.
Yeah, it is.
Right? So that is incredible.
Yeah. I never thought about that. Oh, and the best of it all, I would say, was in Cannes. Yeah. Because when I went, it was during the film festival. And in Europe, and we talked about the stardom of Nacho, how it is in Europe for him, like how he's like a mainstream star in Toronto, Spain, right? Well, at the Cannes Film Festival, what people realize is in Europe, adult media is not, I don't know if acceptable is the right way to put it, but it's not
more acceptable.
More acceptable. It's not like the stepchild. It's like movies include this type of movie, and this type of movie is the ones where they fuck for real. but they see it just as movies. So being over there and like not feeling stigmatized for being XXX.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, they show tits on normal TV all day long.
Yeah.
Naked
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
So
and the camera will go from Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sharon Stone to, Tara Patrick or Jenna Jameson, and then back to Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bruce Willis.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna veer off from your experience as an actor and move on to the nitty gritty business, right? Let's do this business. We got to go fairly quick because I've had you held hostage for quite a while.
Oh, no worries. No.
Yeah, you're cool. All right, so I can go. All right. So you said earlier. So now, because I wrote this on my question, but you said earlier that you saved your money basically for your capital to start your company.
Well, when I in 2003 is when I introduced Mercenary Pictures, my company, and the first year it was very, very tough because I was financing each movie one at a time with my own money. And then...
one second. You said before that you use really good performers, cost money.
Yeah.
So what would one of those movies' budget be?
Well, I mean, my first couple of movies I started out doing every scene, so I was really only paying for the female talent and the production costs. So I would say my budgets were under maybe a maximum of $8,000 to $9,000 for a 5-scene movie at the time. But I won a settlement in late 2003 that gave me more funds for 2004. And then I also had an angel investor who gave me $125,000. So I had 2004 with just short of 200 grand liquid. And I went fully independent because in 2003 I was distributing through Red Light District. You remember with the Red Light,
Of course.
with David and Dion. And so at the beginning of 2004, I had money from a settlement, and then I had an angel investor. So
and a what investor?
Angel investor.
Does that mean like a side person or something?
Yeah, that's an angel investor would be someone that gives you a block of money and doesn't, it's just like an angel giving you a blessing, whereas like they don't try and influence over your production or anything. They've just literally given you this lump sum of money.
But they want it back?
Well, this investor gave me $125,000. He gave me a check for $50,000 and a check for $75,000, and he never charged me interest, and he never told me when I had to pay it back to him. He just was like, do well with it and return it to me as and when you can. And so I went fully independent, did my own distribution. So I was independently distributed. I did it myself from 2004 through through 2016. And then 2016 I picked up a distributor for the line, but for those 14 years, like you've done,
12
drones. Yeah.
4 to 16?
Well, 4 to 16, yeah.
So
yeah.
You had your warehouse?
Yeah.
And you had a salesman?
Yeah, I had like, I would say from 2004 to 2013, because my last 3 years, I only maintained my operation manager and my salesperson and my bookkeeper. But from 2004 through 13, I had like 11 employees. Really? You know what I'm saying? Or seven employees in the office and 4 more that were outside the office. Like my sales guy didn't come into my office. Hank. You know what I'm saying? My editor didn't come into the office. My bookkeeper didn't come into the office. And and then my artist didn't come into the office. My web design guy, rather. But I had 7 other people in my office that I had. And, I was 4,000 or 5,000 square feet office. You know what I'm saying? I had a monthly payroll, a $17,000 payroll, bi-monthly. You know what I'm saying?
Bi-monthly, so you're saying 34,000 per month?
Yeah, because I had like 11 people, you know what I'm saying? So it was like each payroll, it was like that. Because I was releasing 4 titles a month. And remember, up until through the 2000s, I remember, I think it was up until 2007 or 2008, remember VHS and DVD. So you see what I'm saying, right? So I caught the end of VHS, right? All of DVD and the introduction of online, right?
How wonderful was that?
It was great, but I remember, look at my overhead.
Yeah, well, my calculator said you had about 425,000 on payroll and probably about 70 cents a foot, which is about 3,500.
No, 5,000 a month on the monthly.
They charge you $1 a foot. They fuckers jacked you.
I mean, it might have been like it was definitely smaller than 5,000, but it was somewhere like because the warehouse is pretty big.
They charge you that much? Fuck.
It was $5,000 a month. You never been by my place when I had the place over? Okay, yeah, it was 5,000 a month.
Okay, 5,000 square foot though, or 4,000.
It was like above 4,000, but underneath 5,000. But it was like one of those ones where, I mean, it was built to be there for that many years. I mean, I was there for a minute. You know what I'm saying?
So then you got that's 60,000. So that's 480,000. Maybe some insurances. So about 500,000 you had to come up with to take care of the bills.
I mean, not a month.
No, per year.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like if you look at what was generated, the margins were really thin. So it's like it costs a lot of money to and people see the revenues and they they're making all this money, but a businessman like yourself will say, okay, well, what is he spending to make that money? And that's what he's really earning.
And you forgot, well, you have other factors. You have your marketing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, AVN, right? Yo, my guy, yeah, man, AVN per month. You know what I'm saying? Because you're paying for the artwork. But my art guy was on payroll. He was one of the employees. But it was this case where there was a lot going on before the whole tube site thing came, and it just began wrecking companies.
Sometimes, all the time, I say to myself, if I only knew what I know today yesterday, it's just not the way it is, huh?
Yeah. Especially with business, I don't doubt that that there's going to be enough, of the cream for everybody, you know what I'm saying? But it is a case of it's much more competitive because the field has been made smaller, and it seems like there's entities out there that are purposefully made to make sure that there's only a few companies that participate. Even if you look at the way the convention now, the past convention was very, very small in terms of the number of studios that are attending. It goes to show that there's a big shift in the mechanics of the business side. Not so much the production side, but on the business side, there's definitely a big difference. And not for nothing, but if I had $1 million to invest, quite honestly, I might invest in something other than XXX.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you already got it working as a wheel in motion, could be dangerous. You could lose that money.
Well, or unless you know something that hasn't happened yet, like maybe the next shit. You know what I'm saying? Which there always is. You know, there always is a next.
Oh, I know what's next, but it's a little ways away.
What do you think?
We're gonna talk about it in a second. It's the end of the conversations.
I get like, because even when new shit came, a lot of times you're like, nah, how the fuck? I remember thinking that. I remember when they started. You started having the web companies come by and they're telling you about mobile phones, and that you gotta, you know, be prepared for it to be. Oh, get the fuck out of here! On my phone, really? Like I'm gonna watch this on my phone. I was like, get the fuck out of here! And then now look at us, right? It's like you know, like everything is on your phone. Like you're looking at porno on your phone, like you've done it your whole life. But at the beginning, I remember when the people that were introducing those novelties or that novelty technology would come by my office and try and sell me on, and I'll be like, man, I'm gonna walk. Okay, look, the screen. You mean tell me like, really? And then, you know,
all we really need to do is go back about 25 years ago, right? And just buy a bunch of Apple stock. That's it, right? I mean, obviously you're a stockbroker, so you know the pain of having it right in your hands and being slipped away.
Yeah, and even you know, even on some bad shit. You know what I'm saying? You know, more money is made on negativity than anything, you know, than positive stuff. I mean, if we knew that, like, you know, certain things were going to happen, then you could buy against, you know, buy in favor of those negative circumstances, you know. But with porno, if I knew what the next thing was, then yeah, maybe I would invest that $1 million. Or if I had $1 million right now, you know, there might be one or two other places that I would personally want to get involved in. And that is even knowing as much about porno, the business side of porno, as I know, I still wouldn't. I don't think I would put my, you know, that in there.
Seems dangerous. But back to your company. So you have this warehouse. I mean, you're doing it. You know, I didn't know you did it for 12 years.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, really.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, man.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know all about the distribution.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I want to understand your point of view and what you dealt with. Because I know I'm a mathematician, kind of, you know what I mean? You wouldn't think that, but I love my math, you know what I mean? Since I was 6 years old.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I didn't graduate high school. I'm a bad boy, right?
Yeah.
But you have your, you know, your warehouse. You have your people.
Yeah.
You're doing 4 releases a month?
Yeah.
And what are those releases costing you?
I would say, you know, those were the good old days. I mean, those were like when, you know, like when, for example, when I was shooting for Anabolic and Diabolic, you know, we would have budgets. I would have budgets that would say for initiations would be an $11,000 budget, of which I might spend $7,000 for Anabolic initiations. But for Anabolic, my line called Balls Deep, I had like I think it was at one point I was up to $19,000 for the budget, of which I might spend $12,000, more than my initiation budget, but enough that, you know, the profitability was, for me personally, was sick. I mean, like, you know, I'm talking $3,000, $500,000, $5,000 profit. Money kept from the budget, not spent.
But would you get a director's fee also, or not?
No, it would be like, you know, that would include, you know, so if you can make it happen, if, you know, like I could spend $7-8 grand out of my initiations budget and then keep 3 or 4. Of a $19,000 Balls Deep budget, I could spend 12 and keep 7. Or keep 5 and spend 2 more and have that much better of a movie. Now, with my Mercenary movies, my budgets were for others. For my other directors, I would keep between $13,000 and $15,000. For me, I would shoot anywhere from $17,000 to $18,000, Yeah, I remember these are the 5 sceners, you know what I'm saying? Back when people spent money. I did minimally 2 of my own titles a month, and then I had Tina Tyler who directed 1 title a month for me minimally, or consistently. She had 1 title for me.
That budget was?
Most of the time she was like at a 13,000, you know. And Tina was salaried. So her budget was she could spend that whole budget, you know, because she was getting paid anyway, so she didn't have to think about keeping money out of it. So there was a lot of money that went into making good stuff. But
so after 17, 18, 13.
Yeah.
So you're basically averaged out about
15, 16.
60 grand for the month.
I would say a little bit less than that, but if you know, but in production, the production
60,
budgets would be about
18, 13, 15 center.
And then plus with the payroll.
Yeah, but then you have the post production. You have the editing. You have the artwork, but it's in-house artwork.
No, but a lot of because you got to remember some of those costs, like even like the editing costs, right? Since my thing was my editor was always the same guy, so I would build my editing costs into the budget.
Okay.
So I didn't consider post production for me would be artwork,
printing,
and replication,
and print, which can get expensive.
Yeah. But I had you had those good deals out there with L&M, and who's the dude, the main guy that owned L&M.
Frank?
No, not Frank.
So you somebody else, a different printer?
Wait, L&M is
No, that's replication.
Okay, yeah.
But printing.
Oh yeah, you mean printing with Frank? Yeah. Frank was good, and
So basically, the printing could be 2,000, 3,000, depending on if you had O cards.
Yeah, well, O cards didn't come around till later.
4 or 5.
But VHS, I remember VHS and DVD. Mm-hmm. See what I'm saying? Like you were, like.
So let's say 15 average, and with the other stuff, you're at 20, close to 20, because printing, replication. That's close to 20.
Yeah.
Right? Let's just say give or take.
Yeah.
On average, right?
Well, you mean including that?
Yeah, including that.
What it would, it would come out to, I would say, you're at about that going in.
Hit it the streets.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
20.
Yeah. And if you're above that, then you're coming in hot and above budget, or beyond budget. And if you come in below that, then it was comfortable for me. But the target was just to not. I didn't want to go too much. I didn't need to stay that far below it, because that means that the caliber of production was suffering, and I couldn't really afford to go that much beyond it, because then profitability was going to be,
Well, let's say with that, just right then and there, that's 80,000.
Yeah.
Right? 24, 80,000. Then you have 34,000, 115, 14,000. Right? Right there. A little bit of marketing, AVN, which you might have did once a month, maybe.
Only one page.
1 page a month.
Yeah.
2,000, 1,500, right?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. I don't think it was that. It might have been like 1,100.
Okay, that's cool.
Give or take, right? Back in,
Maybe they jacked me. Who knows? But sometimes I didn't.
It might have been
advertised
a minute ago. Yeah.
So, right then you really have about, because you have about $115,000 that you got to make before, and we're not even including electricity.
Yeah.
And any power. So right there, it's $115,000. What was the normal? What were you selling your DVDs for? Or VHS, similar pricing, and how many pieces would you get out the door?
Well, I mean, this is a different time. So,
the beginning, let's say the good times.
I would say, my base price was 12 on the low end. You know what I'm saying? And then you had obviously buyers that some would pay 14, Someone pays 16. You know, well, if you look at IVD, if IVD took your title at 12, then you knew you were getting in at 4. You were going out at 14 with most people, and IVD would take you in at 12. But then they would be your biggest. They were my biggest, you know, supporter. You know, but I mean, those were the times when, like, you know, I mean, like, you know, movies were shipping, you know, thousands of pieces. You know what I'm saying? Where, like, you would replicate, you'd run 5,000. See what I'm saying? I would run 5,000 and then go for a second run, you know, within the first 30 days.
Oh, see, there you go right there. So 5 to 12 is 60. So basically, you were running 5,000 and the printing. So then 5,000 at $2.
Yeah,
$2
with the packaging.
VHS. Anyway, so your contracts were 25, closer to 22, 25. But all right, so this is a little bit more. So it's 125, let's say.
Yeah, that was the expenditure. Yeah,
125. But then you're coming up a 5,000 piece out the door. That's 60,000 times 4. That's 240. So you got close to $100,000 profit, $80,000 profit.
Yeah, but it never worked out.
In the early days.
Well, yeah. I mean, like I would go so far out as paying these costs out the door, but the fallacy is that the money would be coming back in immediately. You know what I'm saying?
If it ever comes back.
So, like, you know, it's like you would pay out these monies, but your profitability wasn't really what it would seem, because if you're not being paid for 3 to 6 months, by the time that 3 to 6 money comes, those net 90s and net 120s come in, you're like, oh shit, I forgot that was for, and so it was challenging. And the thing is like, as my first independently owned business, you know, I was learning a lot on the fly. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I said that there would be a lot of stuff I would do differently. The business has changed. Would I expend the same amount of money? No.
What kind of profit? What did, you know, in your best time, would you say profitability? What did you think you, at the end of 1 year, your best year, you know, did you take home?
As far as for taxes, to give an indication for tax purposes, there were a number of years that I exceeded $1 million.
In your pocket?
No.
The profit.
In terms of profitability, you know, the
You're
profit.
saying a gross $1 million?
Yeah, because, you know, for tax purposes, we're dealing in grosses. We're not dealing in net. We're not dealing in net. Right. So if I say that, like, the first year that I broached $1 million would have been like 1.1. I mean, I remember, you know, doing numbers as great as 1.5. You know, and where that fell in comparison to other studios, I didn't know. All I knew is, for the size of my studio, there were good years where I exceeded $1 million. You know, the problem is the expenditure necessary to produce 4 titles a month with the overhead I was carrying meant that my margins were going to be less than they could have been. So, like, if I did it again, if I had the same amount of money, I would do it again, but with less of overhead. See what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't pay that many salaries in a month, because my whole thing was, you know, I didn't know that maybe this person needed to do A, B, and C instead of just A, B.
So what do you think your profit was, your best profit in 1 year, in your pocket? 200, 300?
Okay, let me see. I would say that there would be a number of years where I would have, I did as much as, say, 20,000 a month. Maybe, you know, I could clean maybe 200, 240 a month in profitability after taxes.
So you were also getting 25 in internet profits?
Yeah, there was a couple years where Lexsteel.com was and you gotta remember this was a net of 25 grand on a 50-50 split. So, the administrator would take their expenses for administration, and then the profit after that was split in half. And I was getting checks for 25, 22, 24 grand.
So that's 300 a year there, and you're getting 250 there. So that's 550 plus maybe 100 in performing?
No. Well, I would say the only pure profit was the Lexsteel.com and my scenes for other people, because the Lexsteel money I didn't reinvest that into Mercenary. I did, when I might have used some of it for some other stuff. Like I had a guy in Brazil that I would send, $6,000 as a budget, which would in US dollar to him, $6 grand would be the same as me spending 11 here. So I would, I had other stuff I was doing, but when I got into Mercenary heavily, I stopped working for other companies as much as I used to. So that would be ancillary income of maybe if I worked for Jules and maybe one or two other people, maybe another 3,000 or 4,000 a month.
50,000, maybe 40 to 50.
Yeah.
So basically, $600,000 is what you could have made in your best years.
Net?
Net profit.
I would say after taxes and all things considered, there were years where I was definitely easily in the 100s as a performer, and then as a company, I was in comfortably in the double figures. In the heyday, you know what I'm saying? And yeah.
Did you ever recognize that sometimes you would have a title, you might give somebody a deal, right? A better price, right? Maybe a show sale, like at the January, AVN or CES, you want to call it. You might give somebody a special deal. Possibly IVD, you know what I mean? Did you ever notice? I used to mark mine, right? I used to be pretty serious. And it would come back around to somebody you sold it to full price, and they would want to get that money. Do you ever notice that?
What do you mean, like when IVD would you sell to IVD
or somebody else? I'm not.
Sell to someone else, and then what? You find out that they sold it to someone else at a higher price, and you sold it to them.
But they want to get their credit off you for the higher price. They bought off somebody for a third or a quarter of the price. And they send it to you, and they won't pay you unless you give them a credit off of something that they bought sideways. All that,
Look
at your body language.
I'm just thinking of like all the different, and I had a good, my sales director he knew all the things that people, can happen, and he took care of me that way. But man, I learned a lot as far as like that entrepreneurship in this business is not a game, you know what I'm saying? And like motherfuckers are trying to essentially steal from you if you let them. You know what I'm saying? And that was something that I told people, I was like, a lot of people are like, racism in the business. I'm like, look, I said, the greatest racism in this business is green. It's not black or white.
It's green.
It's green. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's green. Like, that's where motherfuckers are really like, really fucking some people over.
Oh man, it's a war. I mean,
like, who gives a fuck if she didn't want to work with me? Or you know what it feels like when a motherfucker, like when you find out that like, you know, you're getting, you know,
ripped off by your good friend.
Yeah.
Or somebody who thinks, you know, friendly and true. That's a motherfucker. Yeah. It's way worse. Right?
Yeah. And then, you know, it's crazy because this is the one business where stealing from one another it's almost like they say if you in car racing and baseball, if you're not cheating, you ain't trying. Well, that's true in this business, right? Because it's like if you're not monitoring your shit, someone is going to take advantage of that. And it's a very hard lesson, but everybody ends up learning it.
I mean, like I said, I love my math.
Yeah.
And I love watching very closely. So you can believe I watched every single piece almost that came through and they tried to return them. So much that I would mark these motherfuckers with certain stickers to know undercover, right? So I know who I sold it to for that price, and I would make sure for the best I could that they would never try to sideways fuck me. Besides the people that would take your stuff and all of a sudden go bankrupt, you know what I mean? And then you are stuck with a $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $6,000 deficit because they're not going to pay you and they're going to say fuck you. Yeah, I'm sure that happened to you.
Oh yeah, or they change their name and shit.
Yeah, or they just say it's simple. Think about it. You buy all this product, you got $1 million worth of product. You go bankrupt, you don't got to pay for it. Yeah. You still have the connections. So you change the name, right? Yep. Maybe you still have the product, but you sell it out. You got $1 million. You're bankrupt, so you don't, in the other company, and now all you got to do is buy this product off your buddy for maybe 50 cents more, and do your same shit.
Yep, and then sell it out at So
anyway, it's a big game. Yeah. You really were you at the office a lot, or were you not really there all the time?
No, I was there. I was there all the time. I loved the office as a second home. Like, I would get into the office at, maybe, I was always the first there, so maybe like 8 a.m., 8:30 at the latest, and then it opened for business at 9, and I would go from like to maybe 7:30, because I set up my office like, my particular office was like the largest office in the, in my building, and I don't own it. It wasn't a building, but it was like an office with 1, 2, 3, 4, and a big conference room, and 4 offices, a big conference room, and then my massive office. So I set my office up like a man cave, where I had like one section was a conference section, a big conference table. Then one section was where my desk was, and another section was like kind of like an entertainment area where I had a couch and a TV, and so I was able to spend like 12 hours in my office. Like,
that's ironic. Mine was similar.
Yeah,
that's true, right? But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was set up to be able to
the way it was situated, mine was a little similar. But it was fun, right?
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, I miss it because like. I a lot of times I lament the fact that, having an office meant that when you went there, you were motivated to get shit done because you're like, yo, I'm paying for this extra space, number one, and number two, this is meant for this purpose. Whereas like if you're at home and you have a home office, I found it was tough for me sometimes because I'm easily sidetracked because, my television is there, or my kitchen is right there, or and so I do miss having the office. Although if I had to do it over again, I think I could do better in terms of size. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you don't need a warehouse part that is large as I had. But when I had it, my intention was to be there for the long term. So I bought it to have the space now for when I need it later,
No, I mean, you got to have space. Yeah. You don't want to feel surprised.
And plus you want it, it's motivating if you have a big ass warehouse and you're like, yo, it's my job to fill that, I want to see this motherfucker, grow,
Yeah.
And, So I had a lot of good influences with that, you know. West Coast Productions, James over West Coast taught me a lot as far as administration, you know, as far as how to, you know, run a back office, you know, shit like that.
Really?
You know?
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah. I did everything myself. I did my own sales.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I mean, then I hired a salesman, but I started out doing every single thing myself. Even shipped it out myself.
Yeah.
And I shot all the stuff myself.
And you were still doing scenes, too.
Still doing scenes. I was shooting worldwide and still running my company. It's pretty crazy. I work like 20 hours a day sometimes.
Nice. Yeah.
Starting out. But anyways, sometimes I fall through windows because I'm tired. Right? But so
that's dope that you were doing your own sales. Like, you know, having been a broker, when looking back at it, I should have been doing my own sales.
I used to go out and visit probably about 60-70% of the customers. You know, the stores and the, you know, IVD. I go sit there with all the people. You know, I mean, it's important. You know, relationships are important.
Yeah.
But, in any case, so you used to work with the same people I worked with, which was Ajax, right?
You mean Danny?
And Sydney.
Yeah.
How was your experience with that?
I really loved Danny. I mean, like, you know, Sydney Ninkirk and Danny Duran. I felt that that they had my best interest at heart from the very beginning. And you know, with Danny, I genuinely felt that. I was being handled correctly. Whether there could have been people that could have did better because they might have been more proactive in the foreign markets. At the very least, I knew that with Danny and Sydney, I felt that number one, the deal that I got was going to be a square deal, and secondly, that I was going to get paid correctly. You know, you know, my only regret is that, you know, I didn't have more stuff to do with them. And I don't even know, like, I like, how are they doing? I mean, are they still, is Sydney still around?
Oh, he's still alive. You know?
Yeah, and Danny as well?
Probably. I don't talk to him. I had a little falling out. But,
okay, yeah.
Small falling out, but when you don't respect me, I get very upset.
Oh.
But in any case, yeah, you know, no, it's not a big deal. I liked them both quite a bit for the amount of time, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Danny was, you know, she was sweet.
The good, you know, the good that I got from her was better than any bad. So I liked them, and they did very well. They did good for me, you know. But I was doing a lot of titles, you know what I mean? A lot of titles. How many titles do you have in your library?
About 200 and maybe 279. Let me see. Including compilations.
Include it all.
Including all, maybe like 285, 290. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And now that catalog is at Evil, or where is it?
No, not at all. Like the Mercenary Picture catalog, Mercenary Pictures has Mercenary Pictures, Mercenary Europe, Lexington Steele Media Group, are three independent labels, brands within the Mercenary. So there's Mercenary Pictures, Mercenary Europe, and the newest branch is Lexington Steele Media Group. And those are all titles that I own independently and outright. That catalog goes back from 2003 through 2017. Right, the Lexington Media Group, my last 8 titles under Lexington Media Group, represents the latest, or the latest of my shit, which was released in 17. So I didn't release in 19. I didn't release in 18. But, you know, revenues, I still generate revenues from going all the way back from a catalog that began in 03. The Evil Angel shit is I co-own that with a partner, with a partnership, you know. So I don't own my Evil Angel shit outright. I share that, you know, with.
Why is that?
I mean, it was a pretty good deal. The company called a partnership called Jekyll and Hyde, and so it's Mercenary and Jekyll and Hyde. We formed another LLC that we produce and distribute through Evil, which is pretty cool because we got ourselves up to 51 brand new titles, or 51 titles, and then subsequent to us terminating the deal as far as new titles, they did like 8 or 9 comps off of the 51. So like now, like when I get, you know, when the royalties come in from Evil, that's a separate catalog, you know. So and I don't administer that one. I don't have administration over that one.
But they give you a check and it's great.
Yeah, I co-own it. You know, Evil Angel administers it, distributes it. You know, they take their cut, and then the net I split with my partnership with Jekyll and Hyde.
That's cool.
Yeah. So you know, it's a case where how many streams can you have? Are your streams enough? Right now, for me, I would say that. You know, it's definitely a challenge right now because, you know, the revenues aren't such that I can afford to generate and produce new stuff now at the moment. So it's a case where you're reconfiguring and saying, okay, do we take this revenue generation and manufacture it in a way to continue to make new movies, or do you find other places to place it? What are other things that now are going to take the place of porno production if you want to get into something else? So,
how do you feel about the recent kind of crossovers from some of the straight actors, right, doing transgender porn?
You know, for a long time, there's a guy named Christian XXX who did scenes with TS girls, and he controlled that market because he was like the only guy that was actively producing media with trannies. And now I know he's got some competition. Because now there is interracial BBC, TS, you know, so there's a lot of alphabets there. I think a lot of alphabets too, but, you know, not my thing, but yeah, I mean, you know what, I think, it's a genre that you know. I had a director in Brazil that shot Brazilian TS for me, and I thought that he had access to the same trannies that were being shot by Joey Severa at Evil Angel. So I was paying him to get me the grade of tranny that Joey was shooting there, and this dude was taking my U.S. money, converting it to Brazilian money, and then spending, you know, maybe half of it of what he should have been spending. So I was getting C caliber, B and C caliber talent when there was A caliber talent available that he just was not choosing not to shoot. So he was basically beating me for several $1,000s per budget. Now that there's a TS group here in LA, I mean, you know, a good friend of mine is now shooting that, in which he's performing with TS, and he's been a heterosexual guy. He asked me, did I think what I thought about it? And I said to him, well, look, I said, you know, is it what you want to do? And he said it's something that he thought about doing for a while. I said, well, look, you don't got any competition from anybody else. I said, you're getting 100% of a market that you'll control. Go for it. Is it my thing? No, it's not my thing. You know what I'm saying? You know,
It's interesting to see that many people like it.
No, I mean, I think it's yeah.
Many people.
It turns out, like I promoted the stuff that we produced at Mercenary, that my Brazilian director shot for me. I put that on the same page as my other stuff. It didn't go out. Its promotional campaign wasn't unique from their other stuff, from my other stuff.
I mean, my true motto is in life, live and let live.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So God bless anybody, especially when it comes to sex, has a preference, That's my opinion.
Yeah.
But it does surprise me a little bit that some of the mainstream actors have switched. I'm a little bit surprised.
Well, look, I mean, not for nothing. I mean, there's one guy, Mark Anthony, who turned up and started doing stuff, and I never saw what he started doing. I just knew that he started doing TS scenes, and I was like, kind of like, I didn't know that Mark had it within him, to do it fine. And then, as people already know, Shawn Michaels is launched into the marketplace. And the reason and how it's touched me personally, matter of factly, albeit, has been that someone called my current sales director and says, "Hey," he says, "Hey Ed, why did you tell me Lex started doing TS movies?" And my sales director was like, "Look, I don't know what you're talking about, but I can definitely make a phone call and check and get back to you, right?" So my dude calls me up and is like, "Cliff," he says my real name is Cliff. He's like, "Cliff, why did you tell me?" And I'm like, "Ed, what? Tell you what?" He says, I heard you're putting. I didn't know that you put out titles outside of our deal." I said, "I don't. What are you talking about?" He says, "Well, I just got a phone call that you got a TS movie out." I said, "No." I said, "Look, I haven't shot a TS movie in 5 or 6 years. My Brazilian guy was pocketing my money." He's like, "No, I just was sent what do we call them? The one sheets that will go out.
Flyer almost.
Yeah, so he got a one sheet of this movie, and he was looking at it, and he says, I said, "No," I said, "Look," I said, "No, that's not me." I said, I said, "Oh," and it was Shawn. And so the guy sent him a flyer, and I said, "No, Ed," I said, "You gotta read the fucking cast list on that one sheet." And he's like, "Oh," it's like, "Yeah, do you see my name on there?" "No," but the guy on the cover was Shawn, and then him and I obviously have a very similar look, brown skin with sunglasses, a very similar look, and the sales guy thought it was me, or the buyer thought it was me, called my sales guy, so the buyer calls salesman calls producer, and then I had to be like, "No, it wasn't me." So yeah, has that had an impact? No. Have people inquired with me as to whether it was me? Yeah. And it's like, no. I mean, no. No, it wasn't me. It wasn't me.
So, over the last 23 years, kind of, right? Would you say? As a real, been in the business.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would say, yeah.
23 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What changes have you seen? And do you like them? Or which ones do you like?
I would say I've seen a lot of transitions. I've seen things go from the curvy, the woman that's built curvaceously and buxom, big titties, big ass, narrow waist. I've seen that go to the pixie, the spinner, the small girl who looks like she's underage, but it's obviously is not, but looks very, very young in terms of she looks like she's built like a 12-year-old or 13-year-old. I've seen it go from the amusement park body to the sit and spin, to the woman that looks like a mother you like to fuck, So I've seen the curvy to the pixie to the MILF. I've seen it go from vaginal to anal to DP, in terms of the importance, and then from DP back down to where anal, and even anal no longer being a necessity so much anymore. So I've seen a lot of transitions. I've seen I've seen a transition business-wise where there were big studios and mini studios, and then to the point where there were fewer studios but still big studios, to now even fewer big studios but still big nonetheless, but just fewer of them. I've seen eras go where you had the way the business would look at how they wanted the guys portrayed in this genre, and how that transitioned, where it went from, the industry looking for brothers that were, well kept and well carried themselves in such a way that pretty much set by the model created by Shawn Michaels back in the day, that all the way transitioning to now the black male performer being the wanting to now have them look like the rap artists, with their pants hanging off their ass, what I'm saying, and
which we don't like.
No, I personally it's like dress like a man. I mean, you look like a fucking bum. So yeah. In terms of transitions and things that I like,
Not much.
Yeah, I'm trying to, well, I will say that I like the fact that the number of things that are considered mainstream porno has increased. Because I think that there's a lot of different types of porno that should be considered regular porno to like. You see what I'm saying? Like back in the day, if you liked big titties, that was cool. But what if you like big titties with big nipples? And then what if you like big titties with big nipples spraying milk? Right?
Is that Carolyn or not?
But it's still a case, right? But it's still a case where why is lactation considered a fetish? It's not a part of the regular big tit genre, right? Mm-hmm. At what point did you think about it, the transition where people wanted to see the girl squirting, and how long that lasted, right? The squirting videos. I didn't really like that transition, but I saw it coming, where the big thing was she can squirt. Girl squirting on the ceiling, girl squirting across the room, right? Cytherea, remember her?
Yeah. Before Cytherea,
yeah,
there was a girl from the 80s and the early 90s named Fallon.
Oh yeah.
She squirted all over the place.
And she was one of the few women that did it, huh? Yeah.
Pissed all over me.
Yeah, no, they call it, right? Yeah. And so, so I've seen all these transitions. Even this thing like the whole incest thing.
Yeah.
Come on, it's like damn, like, and that's the thing. I was like, so who comes up with these different these transitions? I don't know.
I mean, I've heard that it's getting pretty ugly in that regard. That's what I heard.
I mean, okay, so the scene is, the dude is a college student and he's boning his father's new wife and he's boning her while her daughter, his stepsister, watches and then joins the two of them, you know.
I've heard it's gone farther than that.
Yeah.
No, I heard that it's gone farther as far as fucking the mother.
In terms of now, it's no longer the stepmother. Now it's straight, you're fucking your mom. Yeah.
I mean, some crazy shit like that's what I've heard.
Yeah, and the thing is like, you know, because the cable companies that buy the licensing to put it on the cable networks and or the hotels, right? They're participating in demanding these they're buying these type of products that are being put forth by the producers, right?
I don't think that they'll accept something like that. I personally don't believe, you know.
But the producers of these types of stuff that they're normally buying, if they continue to produce it, are they going to stop producing it, or they're just going to force the hotels to end up buying it?
I mean, I don't think the hotels or the broadcast people will take that stuff, but I don't think the cable companies will take it. Well, the hotels, maybe. I don't know for sure. Yeah. I'm the person that came up with mothers and daughters. Mm-hmm. I came up with that in 2005, but they were not fucking each other. They're just doing a three-way with a guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But so now, though, so you heard that now they're having these. Well, I guess it was only a matter of time before they did away with it having to be a stepmom. Now it's But you know, it's crazy because it makes me wonder, like, whoever the powers that be are, you know, and then at one point I might have thought that I was one of the powers that be, but evidently I never was, because I never was on that email client list about what the next thing was. You know what I'm saying? So if they're doing that stuff,
what's next?
What is next?
The ceiling has been hit, but I mean, I'll tell you what's next. I'm going to let you know soon. Okay?
As long as it's not like bestiality or anything like that, like.
It's going to be fun. The next couple questions is going to be fun.
Okay.
No, not the next two, but after these next two.
Okay.
We're almost at the very end here. Lex is kind enough to give me all this time. Thank you. Mm-hmm. And so if you could change anything about the business now or before, what might that be?
If I could change anything about the business now, if I could change anything in the business now, would be that you could not use the media unauthorized. My material, your material, would not be accessible by a platform that would allow someone to put your stuff up there unauthorized, leaving it for free. If I could change something now, would be the changing of the unauthorized usage and piracy of our media. And not for nothing, that would mean that, like, even when I'm watching porno, when I go on porn and I'm watching somebody else's shit and I'm not paying for it. See what I'm saying? But I'll be willing to say, hey, either I'm going to pay for somebody's media or I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to access it. I'm going to access the media I'm only willing to pay for, or my own media. Mm. And now, if I could change something from back in the day, I'll change something back in the day. I would say that the age limit for performers would have been set to 21. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because you know why? Because I think, all right, as men, first of all, typically as men, the industry doesn't really open doors to men that are that young anyway. Because I think the industry's realized that most men in this industry are of a sexual maturity that didn't occur until after the age of 21. In terms of the professionalism necessary to do this as a job, fucking hot bitches, See what I'm saying? You know, you have to have a little discipline and sexual maturity to be the person that someone's going to invest money to fuck random hot bitches and expect you to respect the fact that I'm paying real money for it. Now, with women, I feel the number should be 20. It's more of a women thing. Like I said, most guys are older than 21 when they even get the opportunity to get started, and then it might take them a year or two to get acclimated. The girls, when they come in at under 21, in some cases, may not be aware or made aware of the reality that if you do a scene, it's there forever. And the reason why I specifically bring this up about women is because in our society, women are regarded differently than men when it comes to sexuality. We're heroes of other men, right? But when girls do if a girl was to do the same exact thing as we do as men, then her accountability will be a lot different than ours. And it's for that reason, I think that to protect women is just like, yo, little girl, do you realize that what you're about to do, you have to be prepared for this to follow, and especially now, it's going to follow you for the rest of your life, right? So when you want to get a job 3 years from now, someone's going to punch in your name, and as a female, are you ready for that person to see you with a foot-long black dick up their mouth? See what I'm saying? Whereas with me, when I stop and want to get into, and do whatever, and someone pulls me up, they're gonna be like, whoa, yeah, you're Lexington Steele. Wow, right? Whole different perspective. Same thing, could be the same, me and her could be in the same scene, and I will be regarded one way, and the woman will be regarded the other. And that's just a reality, all right? And so from that standpoint, I would rather say, look, maybe perhaps if the age was 21 instead of 18, maybe the maturity that occurs between 18 and 21 might direct her into doing something else, because she may say to herself, you know what, maybe I don't really want to become, because if my thing is like this, if you want to do porno, you gotta be all in it, or don't even fuck with it. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I would change the date to 21 for male and female. Not so impactful for men, because most men are well above the age of 21 when they get started in this business. But I feel pretty serious about, I wish that women would have to be adhering to a 21 minimum.
That's pretty serious.
Yeah.
All right. I could see some valid points to that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So, you said you did some mainstream. I know I had heard that you did Weeds, the TV show.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
How was that on the set? Did any girls say, "Hey, Lex, let's sneak in the back"?
Nah, you know what's funny? And God rest her soul, Jessica James, who passed last year tragically, but only a few months ago. She had been a friend of mine, and she was a contract girl with Hustler Video, and I used to date a former roommate of hers, and that's how her and I became friends. And then we were on the set of Weeds and for Showtime, and she was in the 2 episodes I did. But the second day that we were shooting it, her and I actually had some interaction, and I'm thinking back on it, was so funny because they gave me these little ass things to cover my dick, like a pant, like the foot part of a pantyhose, right? And so to put your whole junk in the foot part of a pantyhose, and then they would tie it up in a little knot, so your whole package was in this package. Was pantyhose, how thin that fabric is, right? So Jessica, who, being that we were the only 2 people from hardcore. The other models were women, or models that would do, actresses that would do nude, but not activity. They had me and Jessica, we were supposed to pretend to be, So she kept fucking with me, sexy bitch that she was. she kept fucking with me, so I would almost have get a hard on, right? And I was like, yo, Jessica, stop. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it was the funniest thing where, like, she kept getting me there, and I was the whole time that I'm trying to be in this mainstream TV show, the only thing I was thinking about was to not fucking lose it and to get a raging fucking harder from Jessica James teasing me and flirting with me, you know. And
I think it would have been great for the crew to see.
Nah, man, they wouldn't want to see that because, you know, to Jessica, it wouldn't have been, you know, the regular day at the office for for her to be sitting there with a Jimmy Johnson right in her face, right? But like, oh, it's funny. So like by about later on the day or in the shoot, you know, the makeup artists, whenever they would cut, would always come over and touch them up. So at one point there was a cut and like Jessica was like right down in my crotch and her face was like right near my dick. It was just part of what the set was part of the scene. So the makeup artist came over there and the makeup artist squats down to do Jessica's makeup, and my shit is like sitting there between Jessica's face and this. And most of the Hollywood makeup artists, a lot of them are hot. I don't know why they do that, but this makeup artist was fucking smoking, and I'm sitting there like, now I've got Jessica's fine ass and this hot makeup artist, and my dick is like right there, and I'm like, okay, no, it's gonna take all of me to not sit there. I was gonna be like, dun dun, fuck it, you know what I'm saying? Like let it go, and be like, dun dun dun. And then I was like, nah, man, because you know what? And I was like, because you know what? You're not in your environment.
I think you should have did it.
Yo, Jessica was definitely fucking with me enough that like, but I was like, no, I'm not gonna get a fucking full wood in front of these people because half these motherfuckers might be like, oh my God, he got an erection. Like, you know.
They would like it.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, if it was a regular dude actor, but we were, you know, like, you know, we're porno dudes, you know, you know, they wouldn't like me. Don't make me mad. You wouldn't like me when I'm mad. You know what I'm saying? The old Incredible Hulk, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, don't make him mad. You wouldn't like him when he's mad.
I mean, I'll give you a quick example of something similar. Not really, but kind of parallel. Me and Nacho on the way to Colombia, right?
Oh, shit.
Right? But he always wear the loose pants.
Uh-huh.
So he's always a prankster, right? So he's act like he's sleeping on the plane. You get his dick hard, it's the parachute pants. Big heart on. He's watching the girls close by walking.
It's just like I can see.
It was funny, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyway.
That's fucking crazy. Yeah, Nacho's a crazy motherfucker.
Yeah, he's great. I like him.
That's funny.
It's pretty funny, right? You can see the people's expression.
Oh, and in fact, he actually will go through with it. That's like...
No, he don't care.
Yeah.
He wants to have some fun.
Yeah, that's fucking wild.
So, all right, here's the question. This is a wild question, and this could possibly be the future, whether or not you believe it or not, or everybody out there thinks I'm crazy. But maybe not in your time, probably not in your time. But I think possibly could be the future of pornography. So I would like you to make a choice. You know what I mean? Would you be more interested in working with a female robot of the future or a female alien creature that looks okay and is safe, of course, to work with?
No, I would choose the organic. So I would take the latter, which would be the alien.
Right? Smoke a big blunt?
Yeah, because like it's like if I pick the robot, I mean, what's the difference between if you fuck a robot, you'd fuck a tree. If you fuck a robot, you'd fuck a hole in the wall.
Well, we don't know yet because of the future of robots.
Nah, man, but see, a robot by definition is inorganic.
Yeah.
And there's no two ways, it's inorganic. That means that someone could flick a switch and turn that off. That alien is a life force and different than mine. And like I said earlier, I'm a professional swashbuckler. I fuck bitches. Let's call it what it is, right? You know what I'm saying? I mean, look, I got 2 busted hips. I fucking need an implant in my mouth. But as a living for the last 25 years, I fuck bitches professionally. You know what I'm saying? It was compensated very well for it. So if someone sends me up on fucking Space Force number 10,
or they come down here,
and it's a bad bitch who's got 3 titties and a fucking 3-dimensional pussy, I'm inclined to be like, you know what? I'd like to try that out.
I like to try it.
You know what I'm saying? So, sign me up.
That's right. Me too. It's coming.
Yep.
You can bet. So this is the last question. Okay. Can you describe in 2 words your total experience in this adult erotica business?
In 2 words?
Yeah. Take your time.
Well spent.
You hear it, folks? Well spent.
Well spent.
And this is, we have over 4 hours of dialogue here. It's a beautiful interview, and I appreciate you for coming down here and spending all this time with me.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me. No doubt.
I don't know why we haven't spoke that much during the time, but
well, we don't see each other,
Anyways.
But I mean,
nice to see you.
Yeah, man. It's like, it's an honor to be on your show, man, and to sit here and talk with you. I mean, we got a lot of mutual experiences, what I'm saying, and you've been a part of my development as a performer in becoming a star, and so, yeah.
I appreciate you saying
that. No doubt.
Thank you. TTBoy TV out.
Lex Steele XXX on Pornhub and every platform around you.
Check it out.
Peace.